So squatting at 40 is a completely different game than it used to be. Back in the olden days, they used to have two ways they told you and I to squat. I would like, if you don't mind, to review those two ways and then at the very end, give you an idea of how I do it now and how I think that people over 40 ought to do it. Back in the olden days, here's how we used to do it. We'd pick up the bar, we'd put it on our backs, we'd step back, our feet were directly under our hips, our toes were pointed forward, and we would do this sort of a half squat, quarter squat thing. And our coaches who taught us to do this were telling us to do this because it built big, strong quadriceps, right? Well, somewhere in the world that went awry and people started saying that that is not a worthy squat. And I think what happened was that the powerlifter guys, the guys that squat super deep to below parallel, started competing with the guys that had big quads, and they were losing all of the time. And so they set the rules, and it's always been the rules. It's not their fault. But for some reason, the thought was, as we all started to age, that the only worthy squat was a below parallel squat. And that one was toes out, knees tracking over the toes, sit back through the heels, squat to parallel or below. Did you hear my knees on that?
That was awful.
Okay. For obvious reasons, that one is no longer going to serve you and I. And that's good because that squat is really more about who can do the most weight and get the lowest than it really is about getting benefits from a squat. So what we're going to do is we're going to blend those two squats a little bit, and we're going to get the most benefit from the both of them. That squat, the one that I suggest for folks over 40, works a little like this one. Put the bar on your back. Take that wide-ish stance, that powerlifting stance. Maybe not as wide as they are, but heels just a little wider than the hips. Toes out, knees will track over toes. Sit back through your heels, and then we squat just until we feel those hamstrings and the glutes engage, right? Once those guys engage, push yourself up out of it, back down in, push yourself up out of it. We have to get down, we have to hit those hams, we have to hit the glutes, right? If we only do this one, we're only gonna hit the quads. A quad-centric squat will mess up your knees over time. So we can balance the knees out by hitting the hams and the glutes. And that's again here, toes out, knees track over the toes, sit back through the heels, or some version of that, go to, do a nice three-quarter squat, and then back up. You'll feel it. There's a stopping point where your glutes are engaged, the hams are engaged, and you've got a nice, even squat without putting too much pressure on your low back, your knees, hips, and maybe even your neck. So that's the squat that I suggest if you're over 40. We'll give you more tips about that as we go, like where to put the bar on your back. But for now, that beautiful three-quarter squat where you engage the glutes and the hams, you'll get all the benefit out of that one.